I chose this life. I used the night. I became the night. Sooner or later, I'll go down. It might be the Joker, or Two-Face, or just some punk who gets lucky. My decision. No regrets. Hey kiddos, thanks so much for joining me for episode 13 of Chronicles in Collecting, where we are going to take a look at the Mondo Batman the Animated Series Batman Blue version, Mondo Deluxe Edition, and maybe do a quick little discussion of this figure line and Batman the Animated Series. So let's start off with kind of the line itself. As you know that I typically do more robot and sort of anime figures on the channel, and specifically the Robot Spirits and the Chogokin lines. I think this is actually kind of the first figure that we've done an unboxing of a US property, although there were some Japanese companies that did some of the animation work on the show. But definitely a different direction. When I kind of got into figures, I knew that I mostly wanted to do, like I said, the robot stuff, but I was a really big fan of Batman the Animated Series when I was a kid, so I was looking to see if there were any sort of maybe newer lines that, had those characters, without having to go back to the stuff, from the 90s. There are kind of two kind of lines that caught my attention. There's the DC Direct line that started, I don't know, quite a while ago at this point, probably 5, 6, maybe even longer years ago. And they do kind of like your more traditional, kind of like 6-inch or so figures. And they have like a bazillion characters, that kind of goes through this. It even has some of the newer characters that were not actually in the animated series, but only in the comics. And it has vehicles and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that line was really cool. But the issue was that, it started such a long time ago that almost everything that I would have wanted was, out of print and really expensive to get new, and I don't typically like to buy used figures. So I happened to come upon this Mondo series, and anyone who doesn't know, Mondo's kind of a company that kind of made its reputation with t-shirts. I think it actually used to be called Mondo Tees, but now they kind of do a whole bunch of other stuff, figures, vinyl records, kind of fan type stuff. So like I said, I saw this line and I saw that they had only released about, I think at the time, 4 figures, and I think 2 of them were still available. So 2 of them were still kind of like in print at the time, so I just had to go back and get 2 of the figures. I thought they looked really cool. They're 1/6 scale, so a lot taller than I probably would have liked for my figures. This is probably going to be something that's the size of like a Chogokin, so obviously I'm not going to put those next to the Chogokins on my shelf. That would just ruin scaling, and we just cannot have that. But it's a super nice line. When they announced the line a few years ago, and I think at the time they had said that they wanted to do Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Joker, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Joker, and that's a pretty nice subset of Batman the Animated Series. The DC Direct line goes deep, and they got everybody. And I think Mondo also said that, if the figures keep selling, they might make more, and they kind of hinted, I think, at a Batman Beyond as well. And, I think that's really all you really need from Batman the Animated Series. I don't need, every single character, but I'd like, kind of the major ones. Probably, like I said, the ones I just mentioned, a Batman Beyond would be sweet, Riddler, Penguin, maybe Man-Bat, and I wouldn't mind seeing the Justice League, or at least the JLU. But anyway, so that's sort of how I got into this line. I think right now only the Catwoman is still kind of in stock, but some of the other ones aren't too hard to get. So this figure in particular came out in January 2019, and my understanding is that the figures have kind of been pretty heavily, many of them have been pretty heavily delayed. I don't really know the reason as to why that is. And for each one of their figures, Mondo basically does 2 versions. They do the regular edition, and then they do the Mondo sort of deluxe exclusive edition that usually has some extra goodies in there. So the regular version of this figure was $125. The deluxe version, which we're going to be looking at, is $150. And we'll look at all the different pieces, but sort of the big thing that this has that the regular one doesn't is it kind of has this like long flowing cape for Batman to kind of recreate some scenes. It also has a few additional accessories. I actually have 2 copies of this figure. The first one I bought on eBay for about $260. So obviously, about 100 over retail. And then randomly one day, Mondo got like 2 or 3 of them in. I think they must have been returns, because when I got mine in the mail, there was like a label on top of the label. So I was able to get one for 260, one for 150. So average them in about 200. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with the other one. Hopefully it'll go up in value, or I could trade it to somebody for something. But that's how I came kind of to this figure. Now, Batman the Animated Series, for anyone that doesn't know, well, first of all, so it's a 1992 to 1995 series. It ran for 85 episodes, and then it had a follow-up called The New Batman Adventures, which ran from 97 to 99 for 24 episodes. There were also a number of movies that took place in the continuity, and sort of since then, I believe that there was one new movie that came out over the last, like, maybe 3 or 4 years now that technically took place in the continuity. There's also been a number of comics, including what is still running. I think it's called Batman the Adventure Continues, which is sort of picking up after the show ended and is introducing characters that were never actually in the show, like Red Hood and people like that. It's an amazing show. For most people, growing up in the 90s, it really defined Batman's look. The look of Gotham City. It had this very kind of like retro design. The characters had a very unique design that were certainly different than the comics, but paid tribute to them, but sort of built on top of it. The later Batman the the new Batman Adventures sort of changed the design of all the characters, I think, to make it easier to animate. Maybe I don't know all the details. Maybe that was around the time they were switching. I don't know if they actually did that one digitally, but you could definitely see that there's a lot less detail, just a lot easier to draw, probably because the budget had gone down on the show or something like that. There's not like a particular plot to the series. The episodes don't really build a continuous narrative. There is an order to them, because obviously at some point, like, Robin joins, at some point Batgirl joins. So those episodes would take place in order, and there's a few two-parters, but for the most part they're just episodic tales. Some of them are original, some of them are based on very famous comics, like the Joker, I forgot what it's called, but the one where there's like the Joker fish where he like poisons the ocean, stuff like that. So you could just kind of pick up, watch a few episodes, to see if you like it, and you can kind of pick and choose based on maybe who your favorite characters are. I believe that the show is streaming on HBO Max right now, and there's also some Blu-ray collections. I've not actually watched the Blu-rays. The last time I watched the show, I watched the DVD collections. I would imagine the Blu-rays must look amazing, especially for the first few seasons that were almost certainly hand-drawn. Definitely highly recommend the show. So like I said, there's the Batman and there's the new Batman Adventures. That Batman is also in some other animated works. When I see that Batman, I mean the same kind of character, the same continuity. There's a Superman show that aired after / concurrently. I think there's some crossovers with Batman there. Then there's Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, which also kind of use the same Batman and sort of continue the storyline. And then Batman Beyond, which takes place, 20-something years later, 30-something years later, and also kind of continues the storyline. Anyway, so let's get into this figure. Definitely would recommend watching Batman the Animated Series if you get an opportunity, especially if you're just going to watch, you can certainly just watch a few episodes too. I think these have like he's got a little window here. You can kind of get a sneak peek of Batman. Just because of the glare, we don't really have a great view, so we'll just open them up. And the exclusive edition stuff does not have the window. All right, trying to just get this box open. But you could tell from the price, this is definitely a more high-end collectible. It's definitely posable, but almost more of like a statue than a figure. But really nice, a lot of care and attention to detail, and I'm really looking forward to taking a look at this. And we're going to probably be doing one of these figures. Like I said, there's 4 in the line right now, so we're probably going to be taking a look at one a month for the next 4 months. And the Joker has been announced. They said that it was supposed to come out in May of 2021, but it has still not gone out for pre-order yet, so I'll be keeping an eye on that, but certainly picking up one when I get the opportunity. And Mondo actually also announced an X-Men the Animated Series in the same scale, and they've so far announced a Wolverine and a Magneto, but I've not heard anything about those in quite some time. All right, so let's just start off with the figure here. Get him out. There we go. So yeah, I mean, super awesome figure. You know, Batman the Animated Series, the original designs, which this is based off of, just had these really nice, clean lines. The colors on this are awesome. It really has a premium feel to it. It actually feels, the plastic feels a lot like, a little bit like the version Ka figures that we looked at that I really, really liked. You know, there's not a ton of detailing on the figure because most of it are, you know, it's pretty basic shapes, but they do have, I think, the detail that they need. There's a lot of detail on the bat emblem, on the on the belt, and you know, you got like these ab lines here, and then there's a chest plate. I believe he kind of moves along the chest plate for some posability. This kind of posability you got a little bit in the ankles. Quite tell if this is not as posable it looks or it's just a little stiff. Yeah, so the knees, the legs, the arms, the elbows, and the wrists kind of twirl around. There's like a peg here. So that's sort of the figure itself. What's also really nice about all these Mondo Batman animated series is that they come with a custom base, and I think everybody, hopefully if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I love things that have a custom base and not just having kind of everything on your shelf, you know, just having a very generic, clear base, you know, with a thing sticking out of it. I love the little, you know, just kind of personalized touch that it adds when you have a kind of customized base. All right, well, I'm gonna have to work a little harder. Oh, I think I was doing it backwards. That's probably why it was so hard. There we go. Yep, nice and easy. I don't quite know how to get this guy on the base. All right, it's certainly not like that. But I could probably just put him on here for now, and he won't fall over, so you guys can. Maybe that is how you're supposed to. I don't think so. Why would you just have this stuff right there? Anyway, we'll figure it out later. So, got a few different heads. He's got kind of the regular, like, stern Batman look. Then he's got, like, a almost equally stern Batman look. Like that. Oops, fell over. Did you get the point? Then one of the bonus parts of the deluxe edition is that you get this smiling Batman face. And the smiling Batman face also goes with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's somewhere, it might be in here, there's like a thumbs up. He's given like a thumbs up, so you could do a pose where Batman's giving the thumbs up. Actually, is this it? No, that's not it. I think it must be in the other one. Yeah, because there's another. As far as accessories, you have, I think this is like a gas mask. And this is like an actual strap, which is kind of cool. You've got let's see, try to use these two. Yeah, there we go. So anyone that watched Batman animated series knows that he has this like grappling hook thing. It was always so cool. I always like wanted one as a kid. I actually think they did make a replica one of it. But you got a little one of those. You have a second one that actually has this like rope attached and a claw, so that you can actually, you know, it's kind of like a wire, so you could have it in like different poses. A variety of different hands. Got like a more traditional boomerang. Get the tweezers out again. Nope, fell back in. You got a batarang. Oops. You can actually see it there. And some cassette tape, looks like. Seems actually very fitting for this 90s show. And a mug, like a thermos. So for anyone who's wondering why Batman comes with a thermos, This is it comes into play in the episode with Mr. Freeze, where Batman's like sick, so he brings some like so Alfred gives him some hot soup so that he can take care of himself. All right, so that's kind of I think that's just like the base figure, and then I think this one has the Mondo Deluxe Edition stuff. I'm not 100% sure, but I know how to find out. Let's see here, put this to the side over here. Running out of room here. A lot of stuff in there. All right, so I think obviously the biggest addition of the Mondo exclusive is this like ridiculous cape. We'll definitely be posing him with this cape in a second here. So put that over there. Then we have, let's see, yeah, okay. So then we have the Batman Hardak head. So basically this was, there was like an episode where there was like a robot who was like impersonating everybody. So he was obviously impersonating Batman, so you can make him into that. You have a set of goggles, and it sort of has the same strap that the gas mask had. You have another boomerang. And then you have the thumbs up hand. Oops. Get that in there. Yeah. So it's kind of weird that all of the Mondo exclusive stuff, except for the smiling face, is in a separate box. It was weird that they just didn't put the smiling face in this box, but I don't know. What the heck do I know? Anyway, I'm going to pause for a second here, and I'm going to pose this guy. I've got a pose in mind that I've been really excited to try out. So we're going to do that, and I'll be back in just a minute here, hopefully. And we are back. So as you can see, this guy has this cape looks ridiculous on him. I'm going to set it to rotate here. You kind of see the pose that I am trying to do, which is, you know, kind of him like throwing the Batarang kind of, you know, stored under his cape and then just like kind of throw it out of nowhere. And I kind of have a little bit of a diorama planned with some of the other figures in the line. So definitely keep watching these Batman the Animated Series videos to see the full display. So got a lot of thoughts on this figure. Like I said, this is sort of the first thing that I've reviewed that's sort of not from Japan. So, you know, just kind of getting used to more American figures, which I've not opened in who knows how many years. So first, let me just mention a little bit about kind of the paint quality. The figure's lacking a little bit in that regards, especially for a $150 figure. And I looked at some other reviews online. Obviously, they're from a few years ago, just to kind of see if other people were having some of the paint issues that I had. But I did see other ones where the paint was rubbing off in certain places, or you know, just not perfect in other places. You can't quite tell from the video, but where the cape is kind of resting on his shoulders, there's kind of like a little bit of like a blue line. Looks like some of the blue paint just sort of, I don't know, kind of rubbed off on that. Maybe you could wipe it off, you know, with the right, you know, maybe rubbing out. I don't really know. I'm sure if it was something that really bothered you, you could look into it. But do be warned that if you want to pose him without either of the capes, you might have a little bit of remnants of that blue cape. Also, there's just a few other areas, you know, where the paint is just a little dinged or something like that, and maybe that's just how figures are. You know, I'm kind of used to the robot figures where everything is like kind of very pristine. But if you do remember when I reviewed the Seto Kaiba Art FX statue, I did have kind of a similar complaint. So, you know, not necessarily Mondo's fault. Maybe this is just the name of the game. I've only looked at 2 figures sort of this type, so I don't really know. As far as the build quality on the figure itself, you know, it's very posable. I think it has something like 30 points of articulation. You can kind of do whatever you want. Lots of cool weapons. What I will say, it's a little hard to pose it with this cape on. You kind of have to use the cape as a little bit of the base to rest him, and that's what took me a while because I didn't want to like rest it on the cape. But once I realized, oh yeah, use that as part of the base, and then I kind of got it up. Another thing I wanted to mention about this figure, so this is like the blue variant. Probably more like you would see in the opening of Batman animated series and definitely the, earlier episodes. There is also a black variant, which I'll get to at some point. It has like different poses and different accessories, so it's not just the same figure, in black. But you can see that they kind of tried to do this like blue. I don't know what you would call it, this blue highlighting on the cape. And I think the idea is supposed to be like the cape is blue, the whole cape is blue, but it's trying to replicate sort of the light shining on it, at night or something like that. I think it's a cool idea. I don't know if it quite pays off. It just sort of looks like a cape with some blue streaks on it. And they do a similar thing on the cowl as well. There's a few spots where it's blue and a few spots where it's black. I kind of wish they had just picked a color and stuck with it. It's like, okay, the black variant's going to be black, the blue variant's going to be blue, and not try to do this sort of weird thing, unless there was some sort of like really specific kind of like diorama or setting that they worked with. Like, let's say there was, Batman was perched on a gargoyle and there's like a moon in the background, or there's a street light in the background, something that would kind of like visually indicate to someone kind of viewing this on display that's like, oh, hey, this is the source of light and this is why it's reflecting in that way. Here, in my opinion, it sort of just looks weird. But let me just give kind of my final thoughts on the figure. Let's just kind of get him in that pose. Let's move his head over just a little bit more to kind of really emphasize that he's kind of throwing that in this direction. Point at you guys. But yeah, so my final thoughts on the figure. I think this is a really nice figure. It really captures the essence of Batman the Animated Series. I think that it looks great. It has some cool poses, and I have a lot of enthusiasm for the line, and I'm really looking forward to exploring some of the other figures. It's not perfect. There are some issues with it. Some of, like I said, some of the joints are a little stiff. Some of the paint isn't quite perfect, which isn't the end of the world, but this is a $150 figure. It's probably going to cost at least $250 for someone buying it, today. Definitely keep that in mind. There's a lot of stuff in the Batman the Animated Series line. If maybe the DC Direct line might be better for you if you don't want all of them and you just kind of want a few figures and you can get those for not too much money. If you just kind of want a Batman and not a whole matching line to match, there might be some other better options, because the Batman the Animated Series Batman is a character that's revisited over and over and over again. Some of the other stuff in the line, if you want to have say 6, 7, 8 figures that sort of match together, then I think the Mondo is a good one. If you just want a Batman the Animated Series, maybe you might be better off trying to find something that's still in print that you can get for a little bit cheaper, and not get something that's like I said, that I'm hoping to match with the Mr. Freeze and hopefully a Joker down the line, and a Catwoman and a Batman and a Robin and all that. And a Robin and a Batgirl and all that kind of stuff. So all in all, I do like this figure. It's not perfect. I'm still happy that I bought it. I think when I have it next to some of the other Mondo figures, then it will really start to kind of shine a little bit more, because I can kind of create some more interesting poses and a few more interesting kind of interactions between the figures. Anyway, thanks so much for checking out this episode. I do new episodes every Wednesday. I typically do robot figures, a lot of Gundam and other super robot shows. But like I said, for the next 4 months, I'm going to be doing one Mondo figure 1 week per month as part of the other, in addition to the other stuff. But please do join me next Wednesday for the next episode in Chronicles and Collecting, where we're going to take a look at the Robot Spirits RX-0 Unicorn Gundam Perfectibility to Vine. Thanks so much for watching, and keep collecting.